Welcome to episode number 203 of the Beyond Social Media Show, the podcast for all of you marketing, advertising, public relations, and communications professionals. We are recording live on YouTube on September 29, 2017. The topics this week include mice brains, inside these lines, Chrome Music, self-serve Spotify, the Dr. Seuss controversy, upgrading podcast analytics, tweets ×2, fake like farms, Guggenheim gone wild, and much more. BL, kick it off with best story of the week. What was our best story of the week?
Well, I'm pretty excited about the reason that thousands of citizens, including me, are playing an online game which is called Stall Catchers. And what you do is you look at slides of mice brains to look for places where their blood is not flowing correctly through their brain. And this is a project of Alzheimer's research. And I lost my mother to Alzheimer's, so I'm more than willing to look at mouse brains if that's what it takes, if it will help. And the goal here, there are thousands of people. It's called citizen scientists, and there are thousands of us, 6,000 people in 14 countries. And we play this game that helps researchers investigate how treating the impaired cerebral blood flow associated with Alzheimer's can reverse memory loss. In mice, they found that it can. So everything's always been about the amyloid deposits in the brain, and now researchers think that, in fact, it might be about the blood flow within the brain. So by turning the research into an online game, they hope to speed up the research by a factor of 30 and hopefully lead to a drug that will treat the disease in a few years instead of in a few decades. So at the heart of the game is people who've watched a loved one struggle with Alzheimer's and are really desperate to feel like they're doing something concrete. So in that regard, the game's already successful, but really what's known about Alzheimer's to date fits through the eye of a needle. This rotten disease is it's hideous. And so researchers want to tackle these stalls. And what happened in the initial research was they could do that. They had drugs that did that, but it ruined the mice immune system. So now, for every drug they test, they have to examine 30,000 images of mice brains. And in the lab, it would take as long as a year for each new experiment. So when you play the game, you become part of a team, and there are levels, like in any video game, that based on your accuracy. And at peak moments of productivity, the Stall Catchers players have completed, this is amazing, a week's worth of lab research in an hour. So the research is called citizen science. That's been going on since the early 1900s, way before the internet. And there are today more than 1,000 citizen science efforts underway, and more than 1 million volunteers offering their time and their uncompensated participation. So Pietro, I don't know how to pronounce his name, Michelucci, director of the Human Computation Institute, developed the algorithm that makes this crowdsourcing possible, and they hold these catch-a-thons all over the world. And so the crowdsourcing is already leading to results in the lab. Earlier this month, it was announced that the stall catchers had helped determine that the stalls in blood flow are not associated with the amyloid plaque deposits that are a hallmark of Alzheimer's. And this study is going to help Cornell researchers narrow down their exploration of treatment options. So please join us.
That's fantastic. It's another example of crowdsourcing cleverly implemented. I mean, a lot of this project in particular is an illustration of the grunt work that needs to be done for successful science. Right? You need to process a bunch of images and identify things within them, which can often only be done despite computer vision getting better and better. Can often only be done by humans. So crowdsourcing this is a great example of that, but making it fun or at least palatable
It's
to the
palatable.
humans
It's
that are
far from
doing.
fun.
But gamifying it to actually add some interesting aspect to it. But another game that was in the news this week was the NFL. Often a source of controversy. This time it was an object of controversy because, of course, the president singled out the NFL for criticism. The NFL players, in particularly, who were taking a knee during the national anthem to protest the unjustified killing of black people by police. He said that these NFL players should be fired, of course, and said that they were protesting the flag and protesting the anthem, which they were not. They're protesting a real injustice. But in response, the NFL dusted off a 1-minute ad. This is from a CNN article by Brian Stetler. They dusted off a 1-minute ad that it produced for the Super Bowl earlier this year that was originally designed, the ad was created to demonstrate the power of football to bring people together. But the NFL ran the ad again this Sunday night for the Sunday night telecast of the football game. The league said, in a statement, they said, "We think this is the single best response to demonstrate what we are about. It stands in stark contrast to some who would practice the politics of division." No reference to Trump, just an inspirational message of unity narrated by Forrest Whitaker. And if you haven't seen the ad, we'll post it on the show notes at beyondsocialmediashow.com/203. But it starts out with people painting the lines on the field, the white lines on the field, and by the end of the ad, it shows a bunch of football footage and everything, and narrated by Whitaker talking about the NFL's power to bring people together. But by the end of the ad, you see a zoom out, and the outline of the field is the outline of the United States of America. So really powerful ad and a great response to the president.
It's a terrific ad. It really is. I watched it and I thought, like, how smart of them to do it that way. So in terms of smart, and certainly not political, this was Music in Our Schools Month. So Google has a celebration that was in the Google cartoon, what do you call that thing that, on the homepage, and Doodle.
Google Doodle.
It was a Google Doodle. And so they wanted to make everybody have more access to learning music by using the technology that's available on the web. So there's a Chrome Music Lab, and it's a collection of experiments that let anybody at any age explore how music works and how it's made. And there are collaborations between musicians and coders, and they built these freely available APIs, and the experiments were just a start. So you can check them all out, and you go find open source code if you want to build your own. And so it's possible to create, analyze, and visualize music in your browser without any plugins at all. And it's just there are arpeggios, and it's just a wonderful thing. And so we'll have links to it that'll let you play around with it. And I think you'll have as much fun as I did.
Well, there you go. So another music-oriented story. Spotify is in the news. This is from an Adweek article by Lauren Johnson. They're launching a self-serve advertising platform called Spotify Ad Studio that is designed to crank out audio ads that can be targeted to Spotify's 90 million some users who use the service for free with commercials. It's currently in beta. You have to sign up for it for an invite, but what you'll be able to do once they roll it out for everyone is advertisers will be able to upload a script and then choose their background music that they want to play over as background music, and the technology will record a voiceover using the script for the spot and then spit out a finished ad, which you can then upload to directly to Spotify Ad Studio and set your targeting, you set a budget, and track the campaign reporting. The ads can be targeted by musical taste, by location, gender, age, activity, and whether you want it to run on mobile or desktop. Spotify opened up their programmatic and automated selling about 2 years ago, and that has grown 100% year over year. So now the self-serve platform is designed to bring in more ad dollars, obviously, from smaller, medium-sized businesses. But it's fascinating. I've signed up for it. I will be interested to see how the technology works and whether the voiceover is how good the voiceover is. That's going to be the key to making it work. But also whether you could customize an ad to each user, because I mean, Spotify has all the user data. If they have your name, maybe you can customize each individual ad to an individual person. So it'll be fascinating to watch.
And the only thing I didn't understand about that is the voiceover is from your script, or they make up one?
You upload the script, so you upload the script for your audio ad, and then they create the technology creates the voiceover. So that's, is it going to be a Alexa sounding voice, or is it going to be? Oh, never mind, Alexa. Or is it going to be an actual human-sounding voice? So we'll see.
She woke up.
Yeah.
So speaking of the Trumps, there was a very interesting occurrence this week. A librarian in Cambridgeport, Massachusetts, rejected a gift of Dr. Seuss books that were sent by Melania Trump. And the librarian, Liz Phipps Swaro, I think is how you say it, is one of the few school librarians still left in the United States. And she explains to Melania that she's made a very bad choice of books that she sent for National Read a Book Day. And she explains why her school will not be keeping them. Melania sent 10 Dr. Seuss books, and that's a bad choice because many of those books contain racist stereotypes. So the librarian said in her letter, "My students were interested in reading your enclosed letter and impressed with the beautiful book plates with your name and the indelible White House stamp. However, we're not keeping the titles for our collection." And she explained that her district is very diversified, many different income levels among the parents, but that they have a library with thousands of books, they have good resources, and an involved community. So she said, "My school doesn't have a need for these books." And she asked why Melania didn't gift the books to underfunded and underprivileged communities, and why she hadn't done any research to find out where one of those might be. And she said, and then the librarian said, and then there's the matter of the books. You may not be aware of this, but Dr. Seuss is a bit of a cliche, a tired and worn ambassador for children's literature. And as First Lady of the United States, you have an incredible platform with world-class resources at your fingertips. Just down the street, you have access to a phenomenal children's librarian, Dr. Carla Hayden, the current Librarian of Congress. She says, "I have no doubt Dr. Hayden would have given you stellar recommendations." And another fact she noted is that many people are unaware that Dr. Seuss's illustrations are steeped in racist propaganda, caricatures, and harmful stereotypes. She said, "I'm honored you recognize my students and our school. I can think of no better gift for children than books. It was a wonderful gesture, if one that could have been better thought out." So Melania blew it. And then later in the week, the White House Communications Director, Hope Hicks, responded by saying, "Turning the gesture of sending your school children books into something divisive is unfortunate, but the First Lady remains committed to her efforts on behalf of children everywhere," and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, maybe she should stick to online bullying.
Which she ought to know a lot about since she lives with the biggest one.
I don't know. I'm curious to know whether, which specific books she donated were.
Oh, it's in the article. There are 10 of them. The Cat in the Hat, the Places You'll Go. They all have racist caricatures.
Yeah, I was not aware of that. I guess I'll have to go back and look at Dr. Seuss books. I was aware that he did racist propaganda during World War II. He also expressed regret for that. So there's that. I mean, it's not as cut and dried as I think this reaction by this librarian might have. Also kind of
there are
easy about librarians rejecting books.
There are books and there are studies on this very topic, and they come to the same conclusion. And so I think that this is something that she has a valid point.
Yeah. It also seemed like a media grab. So anyway.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, as we both know.
Yeah. Anyway, Libsyn is in the news for good reason. We use Libsyn for the podcast for hosting our audio. This is from a Libsyn post by Elise Escobar, and they are upgrading their stat system to be compliant with the Interactive Advertising Bureau's new standards for podcast downloads. So IAB metrics are designed for podcasts are designed to create a consistent definition of a download across the industry. Currently, each company that provides podcasting services uses slightly different algorithm to measure downloads, so there's not a consistent standard for defining that. Some of the variables that can create different standards for what a download is include streaming behavior, progressive downloads, rogue technology that can artificially inflate the audience numbers, like bots sampling preload players or pages, and even ill-behaved podcast apps. And the larger the media file, there can be a greater variation in downloads. So they're going to start using daily unique numbers. It's intended to provide a precise, defined measurement that's consistent throughout the industry and eliminate the inflation numbers. So they'll be converting to that by apparently December. We'll be able to start seeing daily unique numbers. It's an incremental improvement in terms of in my book, but improvements are always welcome. Podcast measurement has a long way to go, so I guess we'll take what we can get, right?
Yeah, but it's about time that a company of that size took this as seriously as that. So Dave, does that bring us to bad news?
It does indeed.
Well, I'm very miffed that Twitter is testing lengthening the 140 character tweet to 280 characters. It's a bad idea. First of all, it gives Trump more space, and it goes against everything that Twitter is about. And, so no, don't do it. And TechCrunch said, farewell, sweet brevity of 140 characters. Hello, pointless extra blah, 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 number 280. And Mike Drucker on Twitter said, Twitter users, it would be nice if people stopped making death threats. Twitter, okay, but what if those death threats could be longer? So Jack Dempsey said in 251 characters, which several people edited for him, we expected and love all the snark and critique for 280 characters comes with the job. What matters now is we clearly show why this change is important and prove to you all it's better. Give us some time to learn and confirm or challenge our ideas. Yeah, right. So the headline in TechCrunch was, why, oh, why is Twitter doing 280? And Mashable also questioned it, and it went around. There were the expected jokes and cartoons and memes that went around about it. I personally hate it. I mean, I love the fact that you have to say what you want to say in 140 characters. That's what Twitter is. We don't need more characters.
Ugh. I disagree. I completely disagree.
I know you do. And I disagree with you so strongly, Dave. I duked this one out with you.
But let me explain. Well, give me a chance to say why I disagree.
I say it concisely.
So 280 characters is not a lot of characters to work with. It's not like you're writing a blog post. It's still concise. It's just double what you had before. And what it will, if you're interested in Twitter survival, which I believe you are, BL, then you should be for this, because it adds a lot more inventory for if people have more space. People like you and I who can write concisely and are important and can edit our own stuff will be fine. But people who aren't like us, who aren't wordsmiths, are turned off by the 140 characters. Giving them more space will have them use the platform more frequently. More people using the platform more frequently will create more time on site, which then Twitter can use to sell to advertisers as a selling point. It will also create more interaction because having a actual discussion about complex issues is not possible in 140 characters the way it is in a blog or something like that. So adding another, doubling the size of a tweet can actually add more space for discussing more complex ideas on Twitter, which again creates more time on site, plus more keywords for which advertisers can bid on keywords for placing ads in search, and that's more money for Twitter, and that makes Twitter more viable as a platform. So I'm sure you're convinced now that Twitter needs double the characters.
No, Twitter does not need double the characters. The most important reason for 140 characters is to send somebody to read something that is an expanded discussion of complex issues where they can put longer comments if they're so inclined. That's what journalists use it for. Journalists use it so that you will go and read.
No. Journalists use it to share their stories, links to their stories.
Well, that's what I just said. If you were listening, see, you weren't listening.
You don't listen. No. The complex ideas occur off of Twitter. What this allows is Twitter to have discussions of complex ideas on Twitter.
You're going to have a lot of bad writing and a lot of unnecessary.
That's what the world is full of already.
Well, that's why Twitter is great, because it can't have that.
No, it does have that.
Dave,
it
you
already
are
has
so wrong.
That. Anyway, you want a real controversy? Facebook.
That is a real controversy.
Facebook is.
Don't bully me.
You're not bullying me, right? So anyway, this is an article. This is by CBS News's Graham Cates, who reports on researchers from the University of Iowa and Lahore University of Management Science in Pakistan. These researchers found dozens of sites that operate so-called collusion networks, which are used to rapidly generate users' likes for free to game Facebook algorithms to get higher feed visibility. So in order to participate, you need to grant the network access to your account, to your Facebook account. And so these accounts can harness your account to like others' accounts. So it's basically, remember the web rings of websites that link together? It's kind of like that, except you're using a Facebook accounts to like other content on other accounts. They use the OAuth, or open authorization, to gain access to your Facebook account. This is the thing that, a standard that allows third-party applications like Spotify to grant access to your Facebook connection so you can see your friends' musical tastes. It's the same technology, but they're gaining access to your account for the purpose of gaming Facebook liking. So the research says they track collusion networks in the run-up to the 2016 presidential election. They couldn't say whether the networks were used to boost a candidate or hurt a candidate, but they said the research is just scratching the surface, so stay tuned to that. But the researchers revealed their findings to Facebook in May of 2016. They ultimately were working with Facebook to implement countermeasures. Facebook says they've blocked these collusion networks, but CBS News enrolled a fake account into a collusion network, and within minutes, 2 posts from the new account had gained dozens of likes. So apparently not. At one point, Facebook was trying to bar publication of this research, citing non-disclosure agreements, but then later agreed that the paper could be submitted to the Association for Computing Machinery Internet Measurement Conference, where it will be presented on November 1. So stay tuned for that, but more shenanigans on Facebook.
Well, there's a big tide against social media right now, and you know where that's coming from. And so this is bad. This is clearly bad. Twitter apparently also has issues, and the government wants to step in and have a look at it. And anytime that this stuff gets to this level and is treated in this way, the tide is turning against Silicon Valley, and where everybody had a free ride, that's about to stop. So, we really have to look at net neutrality, and we have to look at the other issues that this brings up. This is scary stuff. and very serious, as you're saying, but not as serious, but certainly horrible, is the Guggenheim exhibit at Art and China after 1989. And it's a show that starts October 6th, highly anticipated. It has 147 exhibits, and they've had to pull 3 of them because there was a petition, because 700,000 people signed a petition against animal cruelty. And that's because they had these 3 truly bizarre exhibits featuring live animals fighting for their lives. I mean, what makes that art is beyond me. One video-based work, thank God they didn't bring the actual dogs in this case, but they had them in Vancouver, was called Dogs That Cannot Touch Each Other. And it shows pit bulls who are trained to fight, and they're chained to treadmills that face each other, and they make them run at the fastest possible rate, trying to reach the dog they face that they can, and they go really fast for more than 7 minutes. I could not watch the whole thing, but the video was 7 minutes long. And then eventually they just get so tired, and they're panting and they're salivating, and they didn't stop. And there's a bunch of people standing around watching it like it's gladiator. I don't know what the hell they think they're looking at. They're taking pictures, they're laughing. So the ASPCA said these treadmills are typical of brutal dogfight training regimens, and the mere positioning of animals to face each other and encourage aggression meets the definition of illegal dogfighting. So, just horrible. And then the other thing they had to take out was this table that had translucent dome, and inside there were like hundreds of insects and reptiles ranging from locusts to cockroaches to lizards, and they wander around under this really bright light, and they're all fighting for their survival because some of them are going to eat the others, or they're going to die of starvation. And then from time to time, a pet shop was going to come in and throw in some new bugs. So in Vancouver in 2007, this included scorpions and tarantulas, and the museum didn't want those, so he withdrew the exhibit rather than remove the scorpions and the tarantulas. But the third exhibit that will not be in the show is called A Case of Transference, and that's a video showing a boar and a sow having sex, and they're both stamped with these weird symbols and Chinese and Roman characters. And the exhibit originally featured live animals, but the Guggenheim was going to use a video, and so they had to take those 3 out. And this has been a weird show since the get-go, because in 2000, 2 of the artists had a performance piece called Body Link in Shanghai, and this is so freaking weird, they took part in a transfusion of their own blood into the corpse of Siamese twins. It was created after they decided to get married, and they wanted, quote, a special kind of coming together. So the museum, exhibiting absolutely zero concern about the animals, said in a statement that they were removing them because of explicit and repeated threats of violence, and the decision was made out of concern for the safety of our staff, visitors, and participating artists. Not a word about the animals. I never need to go to the Guggenheim again after that, I swear. How freaking stupid.
Yeah, I have nothing.
What could you say? I mean, that's just like so completely bizarre. 700,000 people had signed a petition like in a matter of days. It's been in every newspaper. I mean, how ridiculous. So that's my bad news, Dave.
All right, let's go on to shiny new stuff. I don't have any bad news.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. Well, for a change, we only have 2 bad news items.
Right.
Okay, shiny new stuff. Okay, I'm getting there. Go ahead, do one.
Okay, YouTube has a new tool. This is from Business Insider's Mike Shields. It's called Director Mix. So it's designed to make it easier for marketers to churn out hundreds, if not thousands, of variations of video ads. They want to convince, YouTube wants to convince advertisers that more relevant ads will have a bigger impact on consumers. But of course, most people don't have the ability or the patience to crank out a few hundred, let alone a few thousand ad variations. So Director Mix is supposed to be doing the heavy lifting. The marketers can upload multiple ad building blocks, like different cuts of commercial video footage, voiceovers, copy variations, and the tool will automatically create thousands of ads to help increase an ad's relevance. Then YouTube will let advertisers use more Google data to find potentially the most interested customers. So as of January, advertisers could use Google search data to better target YouTube ads, like showing a cruise. An example is showing a cruise ad to YouTube to someone who'd just searched for travel ideas on Google. But now brands can use additional Google data for ad targeting. A person who has downloaded a skiing conditions app could use Google Maps to find the ski resorts would see an ad for skiing stuff. Advertisers employing multiple ad variations can use Google data and tools to strategically sequence different ads. So, for example, a brand can show a person 3 different ads in a particular order to tell a more complete story one by one, right, sequentially. On the flip side, advertisers can also make sure they don't pound people over the head with the same ad over and over again, which we often see. So we'll see how it works, but it sounds pretty cool.
It sounds cool, but I just don't understand why they don't seem to be able to figure out how to stop showing you ads for things you've already purchased. I mean, those follow you around for weeks, you know. It's just kind of crazy. But there are times when the ads that you see are so intrusive to your life, you know, like they have to have been looking at much too much about you to show you some of the ads that you see.
That's
And
going to
those
only increase with machine learning and artificial intelligence.
Absolutely. So, you know, Gmail, Google Mail, all email is the scourge of my existence. And I mean, this week, I didn't look at my unimportant, which means the ones that, you know, the 10 that are really important that are in the other folders. I didn't look at them for 3 days, and there were 15,000 of them. And I had to spend hours just getting rid of them because somewhere in there is like a message from your doctor or, you know, something that you really did need to know. So now there are 6 Gmail productivity apps that were featured in Fast Company. And there are Gmail add-ons, and some of them look like they're really worth a try. The one Gmail add-on that I use that I really like a lot is called MailTrack, and MailTrack lets you know when someone's opened your email and read it. And, you know, that's really helpful when you're dealing with clients, when you're proposing things, when there are a lot of reasons why you would want to know if your email was read. So I'm going to try some of these, and I'll let you know how they are, but there'll be a list of them in the show notes.
Very cool. Very cool.
Do you have another?
I do not.
I have one more.
Okay.
It's a website called mostdisgusting.com, and the description says, in case you want to know what he's tweeting, but you're too disgusted to type his name, go to mostdisgusting.com, and it brings up Trump's Twitter feed.
There you go. I was quoted in an article this past week, which is along with a bunch of other very smart people on optimizing for visual search. So this is the title of the article is 15 Ways Marketers Can Optimize for Visual Search. It's by Lisa Lacey, and we'll put a link to it in the show notes, but a lot of good tips in there about how to optimize your images to be found in search visibility. One of my recommendations is with the improvements in computer vision, you can help those algorithms understand what's in your imagery by having uncluttered photos, basically. So there's a lot of stuff going on in the photo. It's going to be harder for the computer vision to recognize all the different things in the photo. So having an uncluttered photo will help it categorize what's in the photo and understand it better. So,
good point, Dave. That's a really good point. So that brings us to your daily numbers.
Yeah, let's wrap it up. So, BL, what do you think is the most popular app among millennials? What would you guess is the most popular app among millennials?
Good question. I would probably think that it was Facebook.
Facebook. I'd guess a lot of people would say Snapchat, but that's not the case. ComScore has done some research on this, and they've got most essential apps for 18 to 34-year-olds who said they couldn't go without it. Amazon tops the list. 35% said Amazon is an app they could not do without. Gmail.
Wait,
Millennials don't use
Amazon an app. I don't get it.
Amazon app. What?
Amazon's a website. How is that an app?
It's an app. I have the Amazon app.
Oh, okay.
Gmail. I mean, millennials don't use email, right? So 30% said they couldn't go without Gmail. 29% said they couldn't go without Facebook. 18% said they couldn't go without Facebook Messenger. 16% said they couldn't go without YouTube. 14% said they couldn't go without Google Maps. I can't go without Google Maps. That's much higher on my list. 11% without Google Search.
That's at the top of my list every day.
11% Apple's App Store. 11% said WhatsApp, and 11% said Instagram. I'm surprised Instagram is so low on the list too. Everybody says, well, millennials are leaving Facebook and they're using Instagram.
The Snapchat's not even there.
All right.
Yeah, that's interesting. That really is. That's an interesting bit of information. So that brings us to the end of episode 203 of the Beyond Social Media Show, and links to everything we discussed will be at our blog, beyondsocialmediashow.com/203. We hope you'll let us know what you think and leave us a review. And as far as who we are, I am BL Ochman. On Twitter, I am at What's Next. I blog at whatsnextblog.com. I'm on YouTube as What's Next Blog. I have a website, blochman.com. My charming co-host is David Erickson, and he is at D. Erickson on Twitter. He blogs at estrategyblog.com and at creativepr.com/blog, which I have to say is one of my favorites. And on YouTube, he's eStrategy. The web, you'll find us on the web at BeyondSocialMediaShow.com. We're on YouTube, Beyond Social Media Show. We're on Twitter as BS Media Show. We're on iTunes, Beyond Social Media Show /iTunes. We're on Stitcher. We're on Google Play. We're on iHeartRadio. But we really hope that you'll subscribe to our podcast on iTunes and leave us a review. And we'll be back next week at our regular time, which is Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. And we thank you for watching tonight.
Thanks for watching.